Welcome to the Before AGI podcast. You know, the show where we try to help you make sense of the crazy world of AI.
That's right.
And today, we're going deep on ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah.
You guys sent us a ton of articles and research on it, so
Looks like.
clearly you want to know what's going on under the hood. And to be honest,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. So
Let's get into it.
let's unpack this thing.
Yeah, it's everywhere these days, isn't it? ChatGPT.
It is.
And it's the fastest growing consumer application in history.
Really?
100 million active monthly users.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling. But most people probably couldn't tell you how it actually works.
Yeah, it really is kind of a black box, isn't it? I mean, it writes poems, it codes, it even holds conversations that sound, well, pretty human.
Yeah.
One of the articles you sent mentioned it being used to actually draft legal documents.
Wow.
I mean, that's crazy. So where do we even begin to understand something this complex?
Well, you got to start with the basics. ChatGPT is powered by what's called a large language model, or LLM.
Okay.
It's a type of AI that's basically been trained on a massive, and I mean massive amount of data.
Okay.
Imagine every single book in the Library of Congress,
Okay.
but then add to that like a mountain of online articles
Right.
and code. That's the scale we're talking about here.
That is a lot to process.
Yeah.
So how does it go from just digesting all that data
Yeah.
to, like, understanding and using language?
So it's all about pattern recognition, really.
Okay.
The model is essentially learning to predict the next word in a sequence based on the billions of examples it's been fed.
Right.
So it's like, the autocomplete feature on your phone.
Right,
It's
yep.
like that, but supercharged. Instead of just the next word in a text, it can generate like whole paragraphs, even pages of text
Okay.
that sound remarkably human.
That's pretty incredible.
Mhm.
But if it's just predicting words,
Yeah,
how does it manage to, like, stay on topic and actually make sense?
right.
Like, I've used it to write emails, and it's surprisingly coherent.
Yeah.
It's definitely doing more than just, like, stringing words together randomly.
For sure. And that's where things get interesting. So the specific LLM that powers ChatGPT is called GPT 3.5, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Okay.
Each part of that name actually kind of gives us a clue about how it works.
Okay, well, let's break it down. Generative. Okay, that makes sense. Generates text. Pre-trained, that must be all that data it's been trained on, right?
You got it.
But transformer, what is that?
Transformer is where the magic happens. It refers to a revolutionary type of neural network architecture
No.
that lets the model actually understand the relationships between words in a sentence,
Okay,
not just the words themselves.
interesting.
And like, it's got this incredible ability to see the big picture the way
Yeah.
we humans do.
So it's not just about memorizing words and definitions.
Yep.
It's actually understanding the context and meaning.
Exactly. It can grasp the nuances of language,
Ugh.
the way words relate to each other, even the tone and style of the text it's processing.
Mind-blowing.
Wow.
Okay, so we've basically created this, like, super intelligent system
Yeah.
that can understand and use language better than most humans,
Yeah.
but we don't even fully understand how it does it.
You got it. It's still a bit of a black box, even to the people who actually created it. We know what goes in,
Right.
we know what comes out, but the exact inner workings, the way it arrives at its answers,
Yeah.
that remains a bit of a mystery.
It's fascinating and a little unsettling.
It is.
But I guess it makes sense now why companies are so obsessed with data collection, right?
Right.
The more data they have, the better they can train these models,
Exactly.
even if we don't fully understand what's happening inside.
It's like giving a master chef an unlimited pantry of ingredients.
I like that.
They may not reveal all their secrets, but the results,
Right.
speak for themselves.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so mystery aside, how does ChatGPT actually translate all that data into a coherent response? We've talked about training, language models, but how does it go from, like, text to understanding to actually generating a response?
So to get that, we have to go a little deeper into the technical stuff.
Okay.
It starts with what's called tokenization.
Okay.
It basically means breaking down the input text into smaller units.
Okay.
Kind of like, dividing a sentence into words.
So it's not seeing the whole sentence at once, it's processing it, like, piece by piece.
Yeah, kind of. But these pieces aren't always whole words. They can be parts of words, like prefixes,
What?
suffixes, even punctuation marks.
Interesting.
It's breaking down language into these, like, tiny building blocks.
Okay.
And it uses those to build understanding.
I'm guessing there's a reason for such a granular approach.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like it would be easier to just, process whole words at a time.
Yeah. So by breaking words into smaller components, the model can pick up on nuances in meaning and handle a wider range of language.
For example, it can tell the difference between walking and walked
Oh, okay, yeah.
based on those little units. Aid. It's like a microscope for language. It lets it see the finer details.
Okay, that makes sense. It breaks down the input text into these tokens, right?
That's right.
But then how does it know what they mean?
Right.
And how they relate to each other?
That's where that transformer part of its name comes in.
Okay.
It uses something called self-attention
Self-attention.
to analyze the relationships between those tokens, figuring out which ones are the most important
Right.
and how they contribute to the overall meaning.
So it's kind of like if I was reading a sentence and highlighting the key words that have the most meaning.
Exactly. It's like a detective piecing together clues.
Okay.
It's not just the individual words. It's about the connections between them, the context, the subtle cues that give you the real meaning.
This self-attention thing sounds really complex.
It is. Is it even possible to explain how it works
Yeah.
without getting into some serious math?
So it is complex, but we can get the basic idea. Imagine the model creating a map of connections between all the tokens in a sentence. Some connections are stronger, indicating a closer relationship between words. It's like a network of meaning,
Yeah.
And the most important words are like these hubs connecting to lots of other words and influencing the understanding of the whole sentence.
Wow, okay. I'm starting to see how this all fits together. So ChatGPT breaks down text into these little tokens. It analyzes their relationships with the self-attention, and then somehow uses all that information to generate a response.
You got it.
But how does it go from understanding the input to actually producing words and sentences? That feels like the biggest leap.
Right, and it takes us back to that core principle of how these models are trained. They're designed to predict the next word in a sequence based on the massive amount of data they've been fed.
Oh, right, that supercharged autocomplete idea.
Exactly.
But now that we've talked about tokenization and self-attention, I'm realizing it's so much more than that.
It is. But that principle of prediction is still at the heart of it all.
Yeah.
So once ChatGPT analyzes the input and understands the context, it uses its knowledge of language patterns and relationships, all that stuff it learned during training, to calculate the most likely next token.
So it's basically saying, okay, based on this prompt and all the words that came before it, what's the probability of different words or punctuation marks coming next?
You got it. And it can either just pick the most likely option, or it can introduce some randomness.
Oh, interesting.
By sampling from a probability distribution, which is why sometimes if you give it the same prompt, you get slightly different responses.
That is fascinating.
Right.
Okay, so it's not just spitting out the same canned response every time.
Nope.
There's actually a level of variability and unpredictability built in.
Exactly. And that ability to generate diverse responses and even unexpected responses, it's one of the things that makes ChatGPT seem so human-like.
It's really incredible. This has been a wild ride. We've gone from basic language models to tokenization, self-attention.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
Oh, we are.
There's so much more to explore. And you sent over some really cool sources that dive into the real-world applications of this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm particularly interested in that article about how it's being used in the legal field.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of real-world applications, you mentioned something earlier about ChatGPT being used to draft legal documents.
Oh, right.
I'd love to hear more about that. How can a language model handle something as complex as legal language?
Well, it's a testament to the power of these large language models. You know that article you sent about the lawyer who used ChatGPT to analyze a 100-page contract?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah, okay. Now that you mention it, I do remember reading that. And I think the lawyer was, really impressed with how quickly ChatGPT was able to pull out the key points and summarize the document.
Oh, yeah.
Saved him hours of work.
Exactly. And that's just one example. Imagine using it to draft all sorts of legal documents.
Right.
Contracts, wills, even court filings. It could completely change the way legal work is done.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But wouldn't there be concerns about accuracy?
Oh, of course.
And potential errors?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, legal language is so specific.
Right.
And even a small mistake could have huge consequences.
It's a valid concern. It's important to remember that ChatGPT is a tool.
Right.
It's not a replacement for human lawyers. It's more like a really powerful assistant,
Okay.
to help them work more efficiently and effectively. It's all about using the tech responsibly and understanding its limitations.
So it's not about replacing lawyers. It's about augmenting their ability.
Exactly, yeah.
Streamlining certain tasks.
Oh,
It's like having a superpowered legal researcher at your fingertips.
that's a great way to put it.
And think about access to justice.
Right.
People who can't afford expensive lawyers,
Yeah.
ChatGPT could give them basic legal guidance,
Wow.
help them navigate all the complicated processes.
That's powerful.
It could democratize access to legal information,
Yeah.
empower people to understand their rights and options.
Absolutely.
That's a powerful thought. It really highlights how these technologies can change industries, but also, really improve people's lives in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
This has been an incredible deep dive so far.
It has.
We've gone from basic language models to real-world applications in the legal field, and I feel like we're just getting started.
We are. There's so much more to uncover. I can't wait to dive into some of these other examples you've sent.
Me too. Before we move on, though, I want to make sure our listeners know where they can find more of your awesome insights.
Sure.
You have a YouTube channel called Ian Ochieng AI, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's a place where you break down these complex AI concepts into
Yes.
easy to understand videos.
Exactly.
And you even have a whole series on how ChatGPT works.
I do, yeah. If anyone wants to go even deeper down the rabbit hole.
Definitely check it out, everybody. And for all of you listening, make sure to subscribe to the Before AGI podcast for more of these deep dives into the AI world. We'll be back soon with more insights from our ChatGPT deep dive.
Sounds good. It really is amazing. We've just begun to explore the potential of AI tools like ChatGPT.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one area I think you're particularly curious about, based on what you sent over,
Yeah.
is the creative side of things.
Yeah. The idea that AI can generate different creative text formats like poems, code, scripts, musical pieces,
Is it crazy?
emails, letters.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, are there even limits to what these models can do?
It's a big question, that's for sure. A lot of people are talking about it, especially in those creative industries.
Right.
Do you remember that article you sent about AI-generated art?
Yeah,
That sparked a lot of debate,
I did.
about the role of human creativity in a world where machines can just create art on demand.
It was wild. They showed some really stunning visuals created by AI.
Yeah.
And it really got me thinking,
Yeah.
what does it mean for artists and designers, right? If AI can create art that's indistinguishable from human-made art, what's the future of creativity?
That is the question.
Okay.
And it's interesting, right? Some people see this as a threat.
Right.
Others see it as an opportunity. Imagine AI as like a creative collaborator,
Oh, okay.
helping artists explore new ideas,
Right.
overcome creative blocks, maybe even create entirely new forms of art that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, instead of replacing human creativity, it's like it expands our potential, right?
Exactly.
Like a brainstorming partner that just has endless possibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
It pushes us to think outside the box.
Yeah. And let's not forget about accessibility.
Right.
AI tools could empower people who, maybe they don't have traditional artistic skills
Right.
to still express themselves creatively. Imagine someone who can't draw or paint, but they can create amazing visual art just by describing what they see in their head to the AI.
That's a really powerful thought. I mean, it could really open up a world of possibilities, right?
Absolutely.
But what about the argument that AI-generated art just lacks, soul
Right.
or emotional depth compared to human-made art?
It's a common critique for sure, and it gets to the heart of what we even consider art,
Yeah.
But think about it, even human artists, they're influenced by their experiences,
Right.
their emotions, their culture. Those things shape what they create. And in a way, you could say that AI models are influenced too
Okay, yeah.
by all that data they've been trained on.
Right.
Like they've absorbed all of human creativity and are now using that knowledge to create new expressions.
That's a really cool way to think about it. So AI art is like a reflection of our own collective creativity.
Kind of, yeah.
It's like a distillation of all the art that came before it.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe AI will develop its own sense of creativity,
Wow.
its own unique style, As these models keep evolving, I think we might be surprised at what kind of art they produce.
It's exciting and a little scary, honestly.
It is.
I'm seeing, now this isn't a AI versus human creativity thing. It's like a whole new world of possibilities opening up.
Exactly.
And it's not just about art, right?
Oh, right.
Think about what it could do for other kinds of creative writing.
Yeah.
ChatGPT could generate versions of marketing, craft narratives for video games, even virtual reality experiences.
Hey, crazy.
I've actually used it to help me write emails
Really?
and blog posts.
Wow.
And it's really good at adapting to different styles and tones. It's like having a writing assistant.
It's true.
Helps me get my ideas out there in a more polished way.
And imagine for writers who get writer's block, you know?
Oh, right, yeah.
Or those who want to experiment in different genres, ChatGPT could be a huge help to explore those creative avenues.
It's really limitless, right? This creative potential.
It is.
And a little intimidating.
It is. It raises a lot of questions, about the future of these creative industries, the nature of art, even what it means to be human in a world where machines can do this stuff.
Whoa, yeah, that's a lot to process.
It is.
But before we get too philosophical, let's bring it back down to earth a bit.
Okay.
I'm curious about more specific ways ChatGPT is being used right now in the real world.
Absolutely. You actually sent over some interesting sources on this that highlight some real-world applications beyond this creative stuff. Remember that article about how ChatGPT is being used in customer service?
Yes. It talked about companies using chatbots powered by ChatGPT to handle all kinds of stuff like customer inquiries, provide support, even resolve issues.
That's right.
It's wild. You could be interacting with AI and not even know it.
It's happening more and more. And I know some people might be wary of, talking to a machine instead of a human, but there are some potential benefits.
Really? Like what? I mean, I get how it's efficient for companies, but what about the customer experience?
Well, for one thing, they're available 24/7.
Oh, okay, yes.
So you can get help whenever you need it,
right,
regardless of time zones or business hours.
Right.
Plus, they can handle a ton of inquiries at once.
Right.
So you don't have to wait on hold forever to talk to a human.
I've definitely been there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So much frustration waiting on hold.
And think about the potential for, personalization, too.
Okay, yeah.
AI chatbots can access your account information, your past purchases, even your past interactions with the company to give you really tailored support.
That is interesting. So it's like having your own dedicated customer service agent who knows exactly what you need.
Exactly. And as these models get better, they'll be able to understand and respond to human emotions even more.
Wow.
Making the whole thing feel more natural, more empathetic.
It's a little freaky, but I could see how that would be good.
Yeah.
It's like we're blurring the lines between human interaction and artificial intelligence.
They are. And it's raising all sorts of ethical and societal questions.
Right.
Things we're going to have to figure out.
I remember one of the sources I sent you actually talked about that, the potential for bias in these systems.
Oh, right.
If they're trained on data that already has societal biases.
Yeah.
Could they perpetuate those biases in their interactions?
It's a real concern, and it's one that researchers and developers are really focused on. The key is to make sure these models are trained on diverse data.
Right.
Data that doesn't amplify existing inequalities.
So it sounds like we have a lot of work to do to ensure these technologies are being used ethically.
We do.
It's not just about the tech itself. It's about the values that guide its development.
Absolutely.
And how it's used.
And that's a conversation we all need to be part of.
Right.
As AI becomes more and more part of our lives, we need to be thoughtful about the future we're creating.
Absolutely. We're at this crucial point where we have the chance to really shape the trajectory of this technology.
We do.
Make sure it's used for good.
Exactly.
I completely agree. It's been amazing exploring ChatGPT with you. I feel like I've learned so much about how it works, the good and the bad.
Me too.
And for everyone listening, keep exploring these topics.
Absolutely.
Engage in these conversations. The world of AI is always changing.
Yes.
And it's up to all of us to shape its future.
Exactly.
And remember, there are great resources out there. If you want to go even deeper, check out Ian Ochieng AI on YouTube. You'll find a ton of information there.
Thanks for the shout out. I'm really passionate about making AI understandable for everyone, and hopefully my channel can do that.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into ChatGPT. We hope you've learned something new today, challenged some of your assumptions about what AI can do, and maybe even walked away with a sense of wonder about the possibilities.
I hope so too.
We'll be back soon with even more from this amazing world of ChatGPT.
See you then.
Until then. Stay curious.
Keep exploring.
This is the Before AGI podcast, signing off.
It's crazy how much we've learned about ChatGPT. We went from like the nuts and bolts of how it works to, its creative potential and real-world uses in law and customer service. It feels like we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
It really makes you rethink what machines can actually do.
It does. It's
Yeah.
like it's blurring those lines between human intelligence and artificial intelligence, you know? It makes you question both.
Yeah, like it's holding a mirror up to us in a
Yeah.
way, right?
It shows us what our minds are capable of, but also how much we still don't understand.
I like that. And speaking of things we don't fully get, you sent over some material about ChatGPT's limitations.
Oh, right, yeah.
Specifically, its ability to reason like we do.
Yeah, that's him too.
It's a key thing to remember because it helps us see both the power and the potential downsides of this tech.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, ChatGPT is more of a mimic than a
Right.
truly intelligent being.
Yeah, a master of mimicry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But can we get into that a bit more? What does it actually mean that it can't reason? And how does that affect what it can do?
Well, remember how we talked about how ChatGPT learns by predicting the next word in a sequence based on tons of data?
Yeah.
That's awesome for, like, creating human-sounding text.
Right.
But it doesn't give it that ability to grasp the underlying logic, the why, behind those words.
So it's like it can talk the talk, but not walk the walk. Like,
Okay.
it doesn't really get the meaning.
Exactly. It can follow patterns, mimic us, but it can't apply logic or reach conclusions like we can.
Okay, I'm with you.
For example, ask it to write about, I don't know, a cat flying to the moon.
Okay, flying cat, sure.
It'll do it perfectly. It's seen those words, those ideas in its training.
Right.
But ask it to explain how the cat could fly, like the physics of it,
Yeah.
it'll probably struggle because that needs reasoning and understanding beyond what it has now.
That's a good example. It really shows how important it is to know these limits when
Yeah.
you're using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You can't take everything it says as, like, the absolute truth
Right.
or expect it to solve really complex problems that need, step-by-step logic.
Exactly. It's powerful, but you got to use it smart with critical thinking.
Which brings us back to that big theme we've been talking about. Humans need to be in charge of AI,
Right.
right? Responsible use.
Yes. These technologies are amazing, but they're not going to magically fix everything.
Yeah, it's on us to make sure AI development and how we use it aligns with, what we believe in and actually helps humanity.
Absolutely.
That means we need to keep talking about it, thinking critically, and being willing to really dig into the ethical and societal stuff.
Yeah,
This is complicated.
it is.
Man, it's been amazing exploring ChatGPT with you. I feel like I get it now way more than before, the good and the bad.
It's been fun. And for everyone listening, keep learning about this stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about it. AI is always changing, and we all have a role in deciding where it goes.
And there's so much great info out there. If you want to dig deeper, especially into the techie side, check out Ian Ochieng AI on YouTube. It's super helpful.
I appreciate that. I love making AI easy for everyone to understand, and hopefully my channel does just that.
And all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this ChatGPT deep dive. We hope you learned something new today, maybe challenged some ideas you had, and walked away with a sense of like, wow, what's next for AI?
Yeah, it's an exciting time.
Until next time, keep being curious.
Keep exploring.
This is the Before AGI podcast, signing off.